No.
All right, we are live. Um, I'm Dave. I'm
I'm
with
Tim the dad.
All right, so we are missing the elephant tonight, so it's just going to be just the two of us. And it's been a while since you guys have probably seen us do any kind of streaming, and that's because we used to use Google Hangouts, and they decided to cut that out, and we've been trying to find a suitable platform to be able to do our streaming. So I'm trying something new. We're using an app from a company called Melon, and so you'll have to let us know what you think about the quality of this. So, anyways, real quick, Tim, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I am doing good. I did not get a lot of snow like you did.
Oh man, we got a foot of snow, and at least a foot of snow. And even though today the sun was out, my driveway is somewhat clear where I was able to run the snowblower. But I still have some. I have spots where the snow is at least 18 inches deep. I can't get through. So
Damn.
tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow we actually have to move the. We have to put the garbage in a different spot. We can't even get back to like where our dumpsters at.
Yeah, it pretty much snowed all day yesterday, but when you looked out on my yard, it looked like just a dusting. And since the sun was out today, it completely melted everything. So I hardly have any snow left in my yard.
Well, you're lucky. So, well, speaking of snow, both of us have some content that are up on our respective channels. So I'll let you go first and talk about what you guys just released over on your channel.
Yeah, so we just published yesterday Winter Kingdom. That's by Queen Games. If you're familiar with the game Kingdom Builder, you're going to be very familiar with this one. Basically, it has kind of a winter theme, but there's a lot of other differences that go along with it. Instead of having your rectangular boards, you've got hex boards, and you've got 7 of those as opposed to the 4 in regular Kingdom Builder. You also have economy cards. You have chances, or the economy cards let you get coins, which allow you to purchase abilities that you're going to have in your hand to start with. So instead of having the little tokens on the board that you would try to get your houses next to in order to get those abilities, you're going to get 5 of those in your hand to start with. So that's kind of a unique take on it. It's actually a lot of fun. We played the heck out of it and really enjoyed it. Uh, so if you're wanting, a kingdom builder feel with a winter theme, this one's going to be right up your alley.
Nice. And over on our channel, on the To the Table Gaming with Family and Friends channel, I have currently uh, slowly releasing a 5 episode playthrough of Talisman, and to essentially give it the winter theme, we used the Frost March expansion. So just try to sprinkle that in there. So we have the first 2 episodes are up right now on the channel, and then every few days now over the next week, we'll be releasing the rest of the content. So that's our winter thing. Talisman is a roll and move game. You roll around, you're moving around the board trying to get in to the center, which is normally the Crown of Command, but we use an alternate ending with the Frost March. We're going up against the Ice Queen. So got a little bit of theme, a little thematic element in there. So that's what we've got going on there. So, so Tim, have you guys been any other gaming exciting stuff that you've been doing? Anything you've been playing? Anything like that?
Well, now that you mention it, yes, we have. Of course, we're always playing something. So if you've been following us on Facebook and on Twitter, we've been posting pictures of Marvel Champions using the Rise of Red Skull expansion. Now, this adds basically a campaign mode to Marvel Champions. There are 5 scenarios that you're going to go through. So there's this story arc. The first villain that we faced was Crossbones, and his story was he's trying to break into a secret weapons area. And if you beat him, then whatever weapons he was able to acquire during that game are going to go through to the next villain. the next villain was Absorbing Man. And basically, what he was trying to do was slow us down as we're in pursuit of Madam Hydra, who has the weapons that Crossbones stole. And if you defeat Absorbing Man, then you're going to get a character upgrade. You're also going to face the Taskmaster in the third scenario, which is what we're getting ready to do next. So it's been a lot of fun. I told Megan once we complete this, because after Taskmaster, then we have Zola, and then we have the Red Skull finally. And you can play these. You don't have to play them with the campaign. You can play them separately, but we wanted to see what the campaign was like. But I said we need to go back and play as our favorites, which for me would be Iron Man, and for Megan would probably be Captain America. So we've got those. The Captain America expansion, Iron Man, obviously comes with the base game. So there's a lot to look forward to with this. This was Megan's game of the year for 2020 because we featured it on the channel during 2020. The base game was. So we've really enjoyed playing it. We've bought several of the expansions. We are looking forward to getting the Guardians of the Galaxy expansion, which that is going to come out very soon. Not sure exact on the date, but of course, everybody knows Megan loves the Guardians of the Galaxy, so she's really looking forward to that. So that's something that will be on the channel at some point down the road.
That's cool.
What about you? What have you been playing?
Well, let's see. This past weekend, I decided to pull out the A Touch of Evil Dark Gothic deck building game. It's something that I'm going to be filming a playthrough for the channel coming up. I'm going to use the Colonial Horror expansion, which is it's a standalone expansion. It added some really, really cool elements that the base game really, really needed to. The base game, that seemed like when you played it, there's an element in the game where certain cards can go into the shadows, and if there's ever 10 cards in the shadows, then you automatically lose. And so what happened is it's never seemed like in the base game that it was a threat. Well, now in Colonial Horror, you definitely have the shadows are definitely a threat in the game, and so I managed to win, but there was 7 cards in the shadows, so it came down to it, and I got lucky because right away the first 2 villains I was able to defeat, so that was pretty cool. But it's a deck building game. You have different heroes that you could bring out, and there's an assortment of villains. So that's what I played. I like it. It uses like almost like 3 different currencies, if you will. Like, you know, in Ascension, if you've ever played Ascension, there's 2. There's like power and I think like fight and money or something like that. Well, this uses like 3 different things. So you have like cunning, and you have spirit, and you have basically like combat. So you use those 3 things, and then so when you go up against different minions or up against the villains, you have to produce a certain number of each of those types of traits in order to defeat them. So it's pretty cool. I like the game, and so I figured it would be fun to do a playthrough for the channel because I can do it cooperatively, and so there's a couple things that you do there. You have to roll this omen die at the beginning of like the start player's turn to see if for each minion that's in the row, and if you roll a skull, that card goes in the shadows, so that's bad. And then also if I get any strike cards, if you're playing competitively, you can use these strike cards and then basically attack your opponents. Well, now not only does it affect your opponent, but it also affects yourself. So it makes you really think about, okay, do I really want that strike card? You know, I mean, I could always, you know, if you take it in your hand, you can always choose not to play it, you know, as well, because you can discard it. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that I've played the past few days. So that's been a big.
That game's from Flying Frog, and you and I have talked about playing another one of their games, and that's a game that I really like, but I haven't got it to the table much, and that is Fortune and Glory.
Yeah,
That is a kind of a role playing game. Reminds me a lot of Eldritch Horror because of the way it handles things like different traits and how many dice you're rolling and that sort of thing. But it also has kind of an Indiana Jones type of feel to it. So anybody that's watching that would like to maybe see me and Dave and maybe a few others do a live play of that sometime in the future, let us know in the comments.
for sure. Yeah. I actually I've never played Fortune Glory, although I have it downstairs, and it's one of the things that I was planning on doing a playthrough on the channel, whether if I just set it up and played it solo as like cooperatively with a couple of different characters. So I don't know, but I still have to actually play the game. So it's something that I definitely want to do. I want to go up against the Nazis because it makes me think like between the first and third Indiana Jones films. I mean,
Yeah.
that's who he's dealing with, and the whole idea of trying to find these treasures and getting them essentially. I think, well, you're instead of getting them to the museum, you're trying to sell them for, I believe it's for for glory
Yeah.
point, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've only played it a handful of times, and I think the most I've ever played with was one other player. I played a couple of solo games, which I'm not really big on doing solo gaming, but it is a lot of fun, and I did manage to enjoy myself doing the solo games. But yes, it definitely feels like an Indiana Jones style of game. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's also one of those games too that uh, the first time you sit down, especially me, since I haven't played it in a while, it's going to take me a little bit to kind of get back into it. We kind of ran into that with Marvel Champions because it had been like 9 months since we played, and I completely forgot how to play because I've played a million other games since then. But once you get into it and you start getting the turn structure down, everything is nice and smooth. There is even a soundtrack that comes with the game on a CD. Of
Right.
course, you could also just fire up Indiana Jones music too, and put that on there to create the mood. But yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy it. And like I said, if our viewers would like to see a live playthrough of that, maybe that's something we can get scheduled once we can get together again.
Right. Um, Speaking of getting together, was it a couple weeks ago now? We got a chance to. Well, actually, it was last weekend.
Last Saturday.
We got a chance to get together with the elephant over at his place for a game day and played three outstanding games.
Mhm.
Outstanding games. So the first one was Concordia. Now Concordia has been one that you've played now. Like you,
This
how
was
many
my
times
that
have
was
you
my
played?
third play. Third
That was your third play. All
third
right.
play.
What are your impressions of the game?
I really enjoy it. You've kind of got that little bit of area control, which I'm not really. I never was a fan of, but some of the more modern games, uh, I haven't had an issue with it. So I grew up playing Risk with my brothers, and they'd always kick my ass. So that's why I kind of stayed away from area control. But you've got a little bit of that in Concordia. You've got some resource management, and you've got action selection with the cards that you're doing. You're using for your actions. And you're also doing a little bit of set collecting too, because you've got to collect a certain uh, god cards basically in order to score a lot of points at the end of the game. So
Right.
I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I've only played it 3 times, but each play has been great. 2 of those plays have been with you and Tim, so maybe that's had something to do with it.
Yeah, I think I've played. I know that I've played Concordia. I think that was like maybe my fourth. It's been up there, maybe like 13th place, something like that. I know that I've played it several times.
Well, it
Um,
showed because you won.
yeah, but here's the interesting thing. So the way Concordia works is, you're playing on a map and you have these colonists that you can move around. You have two types. You have ones where there's like seafaring ones, and then there's like land-based ones, and they can move around on these different paths, and they go actually in between locations. And
Mhm.
then when you're in between the locations, if you use the right cards, like it's called an architect, it will allow you to move the colonists, and then you can build like basically these settlements or like trading houses in these different areas, and they will allow you to collect resources in various ways in the game when you have certain areas that will produce by other cards. All of the cards that card. You have a hand of cards, and every card that you play is an action. And so now I'm trying to think. I just lost my train of thought.
Well,
So
you
we're
have
talking
deck
about.
building there too, because
Oh, you do. Yeah, you
you're
do
using
do
a
deck
senator
building.
card in order to get other cards to put in your deck that's going to give you basically more powerful actions than what you start with.
Right, right. But over the course of the game, though, when you're playing those cards and you're moving around and occupying these different areas and building houses, uh, there are cards that you will be able to acquire to put into your hand. Well, each of those cards, like Tim said, belongs to like a certain family, and you will the way to play the game is to evolve to use your strategy revolving around the cards that you get from the row, and sometimes you have to change on the fly. But there are certain cards that they belong to a certain family. I believe it's Saturn, where you're going to want to be have like these trading houses in all these different like provinces on the map. So if you're planning on doing that, you're going to want to move around, get in all the spots, and then try to buy up all the Saturn cards, because as you score points, each one of those cards is going to score you points. It's going to multiply. And there's another one if you for the different types of goods that are out there. So if you can try to diversify the types of the trading houses where you're building them, they're going to score you a lot of points. And those are the two things that I grabbed a lot of cards on. And I also grabbed two of the architects in one turn, so it was going to stop my
Yeah.
opponents from being able to spread so much. But I had two of the cards I scored like a ton of points on, but really at the end of the game, I was surprised because there was only an 11-point spread between first and fourth place, which that's really, really, really tight,
Yeah.
considering
Well,
all
I think you
the
had
cards.
me by what, maybe, I don't know, 8, 10 points or something like that. And then I was a point ahead of Tim the Elephant, and then I think he was a point ahead of TJ. So yeah, it was a real
Yeah, I
tight
know that
game.
it was really, really tight. So, and the thing is, everybody had gone about different strategies. So it was like, some of the other players decided to get more of their colonists on the board, and so I think those are the Mars cards or something like that. Then they were scoring a lot of points just by having more people on the board. I didn't go that route. So the great thing about Concordia is there's not one specific way to play the game. I mean, other than making sure that your strategy revolves around the cards, but it's not only one specific thing. You can do different things to be able to score points. You just have to make sure you have the cards to do it. But it's not like you have to have the cards and you only do this specific thing. It's like there's a variety of things that you can do. And the cool thing is, and I know that since you've only played the game 3 times, there are other maps that have other different. They're like minor twists in the game. It's just like something special about some of the maps that change things up. If you play the Egypt map, the Nile River runs down there, and so depending upon the flow of the river, certain provinces will produce extra if the Nile is flowing in that direction. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then there's another one now. I haven't had a chance to play it. It's got like these little fish tokens in there and stuff. So there's tons and tons and tons of replayability on that one. I love that game.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of
sorry,
fun.
rambling on
Uh,
about.
well, the map I think that we played last week, I don't think I'd actually played. It's because the board that comes with the game is double sided, and I think that was the first time I had played on that side.
Yeah, that was the
So,
Italia map,
yep,
the Italy map. So that was a lot of fun. And then we got a chance to play Ticket to Ride.
yeah, with the 10th anniversary edition. So
Yes,
always
and
nice to play with that. It always looks great on the table.
yes, and my favorite player count, 5 players.
Yep, we had a full contingency there.
Yes, and so that just makes the game that much more challenging. And so
Cutthroat.
Tim's girlfriend Amanda is used to playing Ticket to Ride 2 players. Had no idea what she was in for because when you're playing Ticket to Ride, especially on the USA map with 2 players, a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of times
pretty wide
one
open.
person. If you sometimes if people end up playing like coast one's on one coast, one's on the other coast, and you don't really intermix too much, and so it's not the competition for spaces. may not be as as critical as when you're playing with 5 players. I mean, there's certain spots like if you're not in there, quickly, there's certain spots in 2 turns, your
You're shut out.
chance to get to there, you're shut out. Yeah, you will not be
Yeah.
able. And if you're
Well,
sitting on those cards and you're like, oh man, they're just want my points.
yeah, and in our game, it seemed like right in the very middle of the map is where everybody went to start the game. And right away, I think TJ said that he was screwed because he couldn't get to where he needed to. People had to find different ways to get to different places. So it was a lot of fun. I've played it with 5 players before, and you're right. It's always a good player count to do that with.
Yeah, but like you said, it was funny because literally when everybody started putting down trains, it was all in the same spot. There wasn't. I mean, it was all like the central part of the central part of the map. There was nothing on either coast. It was wide open. I think most of the game, uh, the whole west coast of the board was empty. I think finally I had one little spot I had to go from like Portland to Seattle or something like that, or Portland to like Vancouver or whatever the heck it was, something over there, real short route. And then I think you had some stuff like down in California. You were along I think you had picked up like LA to San Francisco or something like that over there. So I remember seeing some of your trains over there.
Yeah. But Ticket to Ride's always a great game to play. It's a great gateway game. It's a usually a good relaxing game. But like I said, with 5 players, you can get real cutthroat.
Yeah, and that's going to be an upcoming video on my channel. I'm actually going to be doing a Ticket to Ride for beginners series, but I'm going to be using the Ticket to Ride Europe map for that because it will also allow me to cover the tunnels and ferries in there. So those two things you don't see on the USA map, but they've been introduced and used in several of the other maps. So want to be able to use that. And speaking of Ticket to Ride Europe, I am super excited about the 15th anniversary edition of Ticket to Ride Europe because they're
Yep.
going to give it the same treatment as the 10th anniversary USA map.
And I think you and I have both been posting on our channel's Facebook pages the pictures that Days of Wonder has put out, showing the new trains, showing the new cards, that sort of thing. So if you want to see that, you can go to Days of Wonder. I think I said Days of Thunder, Days of Wonders page, or you can go to our respective channel pages, and you're going to be able to find some information on that.
Yeah,
But
so
that's supposed to come out this spring. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that one as well.
it's coming in May. I've already contacted my local game store and essentially have pre-ordered a copy. I said as soon as it's available for order, get me one. I want it. I mean, I know it's pricey; it's $100, but
Yeah.
it's my favorite game. So of course I'm going to get it. And I have everything pretty much else for Ticket to Ride, so I want to have that one. And it's just one of those things where sometimes when you have certain people over, you want to bring it out because it's a special treat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Play it. So, and then we got a chance to play Luxor, which is another really really cool game. And that one we also played at 5 players, and I thought that's a pretty good player count, I think, with that one as well.
Yeah, and we use the Mummy expansion, which the Mummy, what it does is it starts in the crypt, and whenever you play the cards, the movement cards from that expansion, then the Mummy's going to move that many spaces, basically starting from the crypt, working its way backwards towards the beginning. If he crosses paths with you, as long as he doesn't stop in your spot, you're fine. But anybody else, any other players' meeples that he encounters, he basically scares the crap out of them, and they faint. They fall down, and then you have to basically spend a turn to roll a die to try to get them to stand back up. So that's a really good expansion to have for that. In fact, I don't know that I really want to play Luxor without it anymore.
I enjoyed it, but although I go back and forth, like so, the Mummy's pretty cool, but at 5 players, it does kind of add some time on there. Not much.
Yeah,
Um,
it did make the game a little bit longer, but I think it gives it a little bit more than what the base game does. To me, it feels like you kind of need that in order to help create tension. Because if you don't, then it's just purely a race game.
right. Well, it does create tension, and the only way that it really slows the game down is because of the way, if you've never played Luxor before, Luxor, you have a hand of cards. You have 5 cards in your hand, but you're only allowed to play the ones that are on the ends. So like this card here or this card here. And so, and they'll have different ways that you can move on there and stuff. And so it's going to affect the decisions of what cards you're going to play, and then also which of your adventurers you're going to move. But then when you incorporate the mummy, there are these certain cards that you can buy. They're called Horus cards, and they have the little eyes on there. And depending upon how many of the eyes that are on there, that's how many spaces that the mummy's going to move. So that's kind of cool. So the only thing that does to slow it down is it may add a little bit of, like, a little more thought on your turn as to which ones you're going to move. And then we used most of the modules from the Mummy's Curse expansion. The only thing that we didn't use was like there's like a little player boards that you put in front of you that give you like all your own unique powers. But we used with the 5th player expansion, we used the equipment decks, which there's 7 cards that are in there, and some of them allow you to play multiple cards on your turn, which is kind of a neat way you can kind of combine some things. Also helps you to sort of empty out your hand and get some fresh cards in there, so that's kind of neat. And then there's ones that allow you to stay in one spot, and there's one that allows you to move 6 spaces. And you shuffle up the cards, and you draw 5 of those, and you put the other 2 back in the box. So you may have a different starting configuration each time that you play. And then there's also an additional treasure type that's like this staff. And so when you set up the board, the first 10 spaces, there's actually 2 treasure tiles on there. So it's like you can get some tiles early on, but then later on, as you're unlocking some of your adventurers and they're coming through, a lot of times in the base game, they would just be bare. There would be nothing there. Well, now it's like you got something as you're unlocking them for them to pick up, on the second round. And they're a neat scoring aspect because you can attach them to your normal treasure sets at the end for 3 additional points for if you can attach to a full set. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's an excellent game as well, Luxor.
Yeah, we really enjoy it too, and I think both you and I have videos of that on our channels, so people can go and check it out there.
Yeah, did you cover the Mummy or just a regular base game?
No, we don't actually have the Mummy expansion yet, but I do plan on picking that up fairly soon.
Okay, so you and Megan did a playthrough of Luxor, correct?
Yeah, just the base game.
Okay, and in our channel, I did a simulated 2-player playthrough of the Luxor with the Mummy's Curse with all of the expansion modules.
Yeah, and if you want to see some good pictures from our games, all 3 of those games, then go to the Dad, Dave, and the Elephant Facebook page, because we posted all the pictures there. So, and you get to see a picture of Tim since he's missing tonight.
Yeah, but Tim's doing good. So, in case any of you guys are wondering, he is doing all right. So, let's see real quick here. Yeah, any new games on the horizon that have your interest at all, or you really haven't been paying much attention to what's coming up?
Actually, there was a game that I learned a couple weeks ago on Board Game Arena called Quetzal. It is a kind of a worker placement, a lot of take that type of thing where you can place your guys on the board, but you roll your meeples, which is a kind of a cool concept. And on one side they're light, the other side they're dark, and depending on basically how they roll, that's how you're going to be able to use them. And if you roll them and they're on their side or they're standing straight up, then they're basically undecided, and you can use them for either light or dark. But say I go to an area and I put down 2 of my light guys. Now, if you want to go there, you have to put at least 3 of your light guys there. And there are some places you only have to put 1 player, but it's really cool. I actually ordered it, and I'm hoping it arrives tomorrow. Amazon has it for $35, which to me is a steal. So once I get that in, I'll do an unboxing on that. Not sure how soon it'll get to the channel, but it's a game that I think Megan would like. So hoping that we can get that to the channel sometime, maybe second quarter. Our schedule's pretty full for the first quarter of the year. So we're going to kind of see how things shake out.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. I'm trying to think now of if there's any. I really haven't been paying much attention to what's coming up. That I could think of off the top of my head in terms of like new games. Um, I've gotten a few like newer ones in trade that I'm looking forward to checking out. So like Dune Imperium, that's supposed to be pretty good. Um, so that one, actually, I traded away Cubitos for that. I know you and I both covered Cubitos on our channel just
Mhm.
recently. Uh, the game's not out yet, and I've parted with my copy, and I wouldn't be surprised if you part with yours pretty soon.
Yeah, there was a fine game. It's just I don't think it did anything special that warrants me keeping it in my collection. So, yeah, that one probably won't stay around too long. You and I have kind of talked about this in previous videos, and even just on our own about basically eating your collection, because you and I both have what I would consider to be very large collections. You recently knocked yours down, I think, by over half. I still actually
Right,
have a pretty good sized collection, but I want to kind of curate it down to the games I love because those are the games that I want to play more that don't seem to be getting to the table that often. So less games means less choices, and it means that I'm choosing more games that I love to play.
right. That's true. Yeah, I cut my collection. I went from, I think it was close to 500. I'm at like 230. So
Yeah.
I called hard last year, and I still have probably there's more that I get rid of, and I'm slowly trying to whittle my way down. It's funny. I was talking to Jason Brenner, who used to work for Upper Deck, and he said he wants to get down. He'd like to have his collection be at like 50 games. That's
Mhm.
it. Which
Well,
that's pretty
you have so many, and you can only play so many.
right.
So, like I said, if you cut your choices down, then your choices are going to be, all your choices are the games you love.
That's true. So, oh, speaking of games that we love, Carcassonne. I know you enjoy that game.
Mhm.
Uh, Hans im Glück is going to be releasing a 20th anniversary edition of Carcassonne.
Oh yeah,
So,
what will it bring to the table?
so, so it's going to have the river expansion in there, but it's going to have 5 new river tiles. And there's another thing called the Abbot, which is another mini expansion. I'm not really
Mhm.
sure what that one is. And then they're doing a 15 tile anniversary mini expansion that's going to be in the box as well. Plus, they are going to have spot UV art on all the tiles, and there's going to be, I guess, little like Easter eggs and stuff like that that you'll be able to see on the different tiles. And the last thing is they're going to have costume stickers that you can put on the meeples. So if you want them to
Mm.
have actually like a character, then you'll be able to put them on as well. So there was a few images that were up on Board Game Geek, but there's right now they really haven't shown very much about it. I know that the box is supposed to have like a gold foil on there where it says Carcassonne. So
When's
that
that one scheduled to come out?
I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be later this year. So I'm going to probably say um, probably quarter 3 this
I,
year.
I'll have to make sure I get that one. I have a
Yeah. So
lot of versions of Carcassonne, so we really enjoy it, and basically I'll have to pick that one up. I think.
I probably will pick that one up just for the fact that it is an anniversary edition and it'll have that spot UV on there. So that's just, I think that will just make the tiles just kind of pop, you know? So, and it may actually help distinguish, like between like the pastures when you put the farmers out, opposed to like your little guys that you have in the city and stuff like that. Plus, the extra 15 tiles, that's a pretty significant amount of tiles. And some of those mini expansions are pretty good. Now, you guys have the uh, winter version, right? Carcassonne Winter Edition.
Yes, I
Okay.
also have the regular version too. But yeah,
Okay.
we usually like to play the winter version about this time of year, because it's winter.
Right. Did your copy have the gingerbread man
No, it
expansion?
did not. Um,
Okay.
Ironically, though, just this last week, I've been actually playing uh, Carcassonne on my iPad, which the app is an old app. In fact, it's not even supported anymore. You can't even download it. But a buddy of mine in my weekly group has it, so we've been playing it. And if you do play with the winter tiles or the winter expansion on there, that does come with the gingerbread on the app. So,
Okay.
uh, so I have played it before. I just don't have it the physical copy
Okay. Yeah.
that has gingerbread.
When I had the winter edition of Carcassonne, it had the gingerbread expansion in there, and I kind of regret getting rid of it. The only reason that I got rid of it was because I couldn't expand anything with it, so I couldn't really play like the other. That was it. It was like the one version, so I couldn't really add other things to it. So I have a regular version of Carcassonne now.
Well,
So.
all the versions I have of Carcassonne are kind of all the standalones. I don't actually have any of the expansions for the base game. I mean, I have the base game. I have Winter. I have the Castle, which is a two-player version. I have South Seas. I have Amazon. I have Gold Rush. I have Safari. I have Star Wars. In fact, we did Star Wars on our channel. That was the last time I think we did a Carcassonne. But
Okay.
yeah. And
So
when
you
Hunters, I
never,
have the
never.
original Hunters and Gatherers that I got from you, but now there's a new version out, so
Hmm.
may have to pick that one up.
So now, so you don't have any of the expansions for
No,
Zone. There's a couple of them that are good, and I would say if you were to buy one to mess around with, Hills and Sheep is a lot of fun because it adds a. So the hills are like an extra tile that you can put out there, and whoever happens to be on that one, in case of a tie in certain areas, whoever is on there has the high ground, and so it breaks the ties. It
is he
also
holding a
has.
lightsaber? You
Hmm?
know,
Almost. I have the high ground. Yeah.
Anakin, you are a brother, but I have the high ground.
Right. Uh, and then there are these vineyards that you can plant around the monasteries,
And get drunk?
so you can score points for them. And then the last thing is you can put out shepherds and they can have a flock, and then you can is like a press your luck. You can try to draw from this bag, and so if you keep adding sheep, then the flock gets bigger. And then I think you can sell the sheep for points.
So can you get rid of them and tell them to get the flock out of there?
Pretty much, yeah. And then there's some wolf tokens in there. If you pull a wolf one out, I believe that like scares off the whole flock or eats them or something like that. So, but it's a fun expansion that doesn't add like any difficulty to the game. I think it accentuates certain things. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you have to have inns and cathedrals and traders and builders, but I think Hills and Sheep is better than both of those. But that's just my opinion.
No.
So. Anyways, you got anything else on your mind?
No, I think that's about it for tonight.
Oh, sounds good. Well, you guys, thank you for checking out the stream, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it later on. But it was good to be able to, you know, chat and be able to let you guys listen to the stuff that we're up to.
And
And
maybe this is something we can do more on a regular basis.
yeah, that's the plan. So make sure that you guys stay tuned to the channel, and we will catch you guys later. Take care.
See you guys.